So good morning, everyone. I'm Reuven Aronashvili. I'm the founder and the CEO of CISOs Security. We are based in Israel, and I'm going to take you through today a short presentation talking about what are the biggest mistakes that we see that CISOs or security responsibles in online gaming companies are making, and some suggestions on how this can be improved. Very quickly about myself, I started my professional career in the Israeli army as part of the cybersecurity unit. I was one of the founders of the Israeli Red Team, Section 21. I've done 7 years of service there, and then after finalizing my duty, founded SI in 2012. Since then, working with different companies worldwide, with different industries and sizing. Our main offering is actually a hybrid situation between automated tools for the scale and a depth of the human brain for the depth of identifying vulnerabilities and being able to calculate the most cost-efficient cybersecurity mitigation planning for the organization. We have offices in Israel, in UK, Italy, and the US. In general, we are working globally. And that's something that, of course, provides us with very interesting visibility into different industries and into the world-leading companies worldwide. You can see some of the examples of companies that we are working with worldwide, but in general, there are giants like General Electric, more than 300K employees, and smaller organizations like World Economic Forum, just a few thousands of employees. I'm going to take you directly to the point. So we are going to demonstrate or to talk about let's say the three biggest issues that we see today. What we've done, we took all of our assessments or all of our engagements with gaming and online gambling organizations. We took an average situation and tried to identify what are the attack routes. This is the way that we work. What are the most common attack routes that we were able to demonstrate or to achieve in those organizations in order to tell you what we would do as, let's say, as an offensive group in order to target those business critical assets of those gambling or gaming organizations. Number one issue is the focus that we see, a very clear focus on what we call the front gateways. In general, the gambling applications or the gambling infrastructure that is exposed out there. While we see a very significant gap between the cybersecurity level of those gateways when it compares to the internal organization or to the security of the rest of the organization that can be also, of course, a way into the organization. Maybe more in depth, when we talk about the ever-evolving threat, as you can imagine, there are multiple ways for attackers to try and get access into the organizations, from things that are considered to be very complicated and complex from an offensive point of view to things that are very simple like misconfigurations and just direct unauthenticated access to different interfaces. Then, in general, we see that organizations are trying to tailor different security solutions, trying to cover those specific threats and making sure that those threats will not be effective or efficient against those organizations. However, between the cracks, there are a lot of things that are being missed. Those specific use cases, those specific misconfigurations, these specific vulnerabilities that are missed are then being leveraged in order to create the attack story against the organization. So from our point of view, when it comes to an organization, we take a very clear, let's say, a threat model in which we start from different starting points that can be internet attacker, on-site attacker, rogue or compromised employee, or any third party or supply chain related partner. On the right side of the screen, what you can see, those are the business critical assets. Now, when we start our activity, we use each and every one of the capabilities that are available. That can be application level, network level, infrastructure level vulnerabilities. From our point of view, everything is legitimate, including social engineering, phishing, and so on and so forth. Once we finalize a round of or a cycle of assessment, we get a very clear representation of the attack or the offensive route that we took against the organization. And now, based on that, we are starting with the specific analysis of how a mitigation process should look like. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that usually when we come to an online gambling company, we see that the internet perimeter, or specifically the applications, the gaming applications, are much more protected than the corresponding part or infrastructure in the organizational level. Second item is around prioritization. When it comes to mitigation or to cybersecurity investment in general, you try to take into consideration the best investment of your, let's say, dollar in order to get the highest value for money. In general, we see that the leading concept today of calculating cybersecurity risk in organization is per vulnerability is a concept based on CVSS. CVSS is an international standard to evaluate the severity level of specific vulnerability. The problem with that is that CVSS is really context free or really doesn't have a lot with the business context. So when you take into consideration different vulnerabilities and you try to evaluate how those actually influence or impact the business critical assets, you find a gap between something that is considered to be a critical vulnerability, for example, to the business critical assets that are then threatened by the same vulnerability. A specific use case or case study that we had just lately, we came into one of the largest gaming companies in the world. They had a very comprehensive assessment with one of the big four companies before us. They gave them or provided them with a very comprehensive report. And they took a very, let's say, common approach of let's fix everything that was related or everything that was considered to be either critical or high level severity. Everything that is medium level severity and below, we will postpone for next round or for when we have time or budget. Now, we took the same organization and we've conducted a red team exercise in this specific environment, trying to see whether we are able to demonstrate a specific risk or access to business critical assets. And practically we were able to demonstrate that using those vulnerabilities that were not mitigated, some of them or the vast majority of them were actually familiar, but by the IT and the security team. So some of the things were not even a surprise, but by actually tailoring those specific vulnerabilities together, we were able to get into a situation that we get access to the CEO's laptop and remotely activating the camera and the microphone in order to really demonstrate that we are able to get access to VIP or C-suite executives in the organization. Here you can see also a picture of the CFO of the organization that we were able to get direct access to his PC and actually get or turn his specific device into a surveillance device. Of course, business-related data, we were able to get access to the CRM, to the SAP of the organization, and so on and so forth. The point that I'm trying to make here is the focus on the mitigation planning should be using a different mechanism in order to be able to prioritize and identify those things that do matter and can actually block an attacker from getting access or to move in the organization in a free way or in a very easy way. The third item is something that, again, it's very common in general and also common in the gaming industry. And that's the confusion that we see between technology investment and cybersecurity maturity, or actually even more accurately, the difference between technology and a capability. So from our point of view, buying another technology, that's something that is, of course, can be very efficient if you're able to integrate this specific technology with the right processes, procedures, skill level that is required in order to activate it and with the right operational process. But when you add just another tool without all of the above, that means without the processes, without the procedures, and without the human skill or the operational process to support it, then practically you are not only improving the situation, actually you are adding to the attack surface, and that's something that can then be used against the organization, of course. So our recommendation here is very, on the one hand, very basic, on the other hand, very important. And that is when you think about the technology, you need to think about the capability. That means integrate this technology with the actual need, with the relevant security processes, procedures, and of course, the people to activate this specific technology. In general, when we think about how cybersecurity programs should look like in an organization, we have the 1, 2, 3 steps that are actually able to deal with the specific mistakes that we've seen before, and to provide an organization with the most cost-effective or cost-efficient process to actually improve the cybersecurity maturity in the organization. First step is visibility. Getting visibility into the threat or to the risk landscape in the organization by actually activating an offensive process in the organization while exposing those misconfigurations, vulnerabilities, and so on. This is a very important step in order to understand the cybersecurity situation of the organization. Here we take a very comprehensive approach, inside, outside, automated manual, everything that can be done in order to expose the cybersecurity risk map that I've showed you before, the graph that actually demonstrates how a specific threat source can get access to a specific business critical asset. Second part is translating the technical risk, because usually, and that's one of the biggest gaps that we see, the pen test, red team exercise, or any kind of offensive exercise that you do in your organization provides you with a very technical explanation or description of what is the situation. Taking this specific technical risk evaluation and translating it into a business risk, that's a very critical step that a lot of organizations are skipping today, and that's then being reflected in the results and in the maturity level improvement practically. Last but not least, the optimization process of, let's say, resource and budget allocation for mitigation and risk improvement, that's a very crucial part. Here we use a specific algorithm, mathematically proof that we can demonstrate that our recommendation would be the most cost efficient that the organization can take. But the point that I'm trying to make here is really taking a risk-based approach, but actual risk-based approach in which you are actually able to evaluate what is the contribution of each and every one of the vulnerabilities to the organizational risk by actually calculating the attack routes that are taking part or using or leveraging this specific vulnerability. This is really a key in order to evaluate and identify the optimized way to mitigate and to improve cybersecurity maturity level in the organization. In general, I'm more than happy to take questions later and of course, demonstrate in depth the technology and the capabilities that we have. But in general, I wanted to thank you very much for the time, and I hope that I'm also on time to provide the others the rest of the time to present themselves. So thank you very much, and it was really my pleasure to present to you today. Thank you.